With the holidays approaching, why not gather your young ones and share a story from Classical Kids Storytime? We have dozens of classical tales with a classical twist. New
Good evening and welcome to our event tonight. If you notice me looking around a bit, it's I'm kind of running the whole show tonight. I've got several monitors in front of me, a couple of computers, and a soundboard to catch everything for this evening. And so I'm not trying not to look at you. I wish I could see all of your beautiful faces tonight. This is an event for the Lincoln Choral artists, and we are so pleased that you are able to join us live tonight. For those who are catching it later, thank you for watching this after the fact, and big thanks to St. Thomas Lutheran Church, Chris Levine, and Todd Anderson, who helped me with my setup. I am in the back of a sanctuary with all of our equipment, essentially alone. I don't think anyone else is even in the church building. But we are together here via the wonderful wide world of the web, right? And I have been anticipating tonight for quite a while, and in our process of figuring out what to do for this season because of the tragic events of the COVID virus and all of the changes that have happened in society, particularly for performing groups like the Lincoln Choral Artists, the thought of bringing music to you, to the public in a way that is safe and wonderful is something that I've been really waiting for. And here is another opportunity tonight. In the last few weeks, we have done some live rehearsals that you can go back and watch on our Facebook page if you're interested in seeing what we've done with those. But tonight is a special night where 9 of my colleagues from around the region who are directors and singers and choral conductors, composers and church musicians have come together to talk about their pieces that they think are a piece that you should sing or know of or heard. A lot of the music tonight may be familiar to you. If it is, that's wonderful. I hope there's some new things too as well. Some of the videos will include the actual score on the screen. So I encourage you to sing at home. If there's more than one of you watching tonight and you can sing in parts, do it. Find your part on the screen. Some of these pieces are really, in this moment, good for listening to and hearing. It may be the first time you're hearing them. So really listen and get a chance to hear what these are about. I am, again, looking so forward to sharing all of these with you tonight. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping up with what's going on in the event. So if you can post questions, or if you have concerns, if you're not hearing me, if you're not hearing the video or whatever, please go into the event and make a comment in there. If you just want to say thank you, or if you just want to ask a question about anything that you're seeing, please do so. I expect that we're going to go about an hour and 40 minutes or so, and have some time for some questions as they come up. I have planned it for about 2 hours, so if you can enjoy 2 hours of it with me, that's great. I know I'm a little bit of a talking head right now, but you're going to see some other faces soon here, and so I hope you really enjoy the event tonight. Here we go.
Hi, Lincoln Choral Artists. Mark Harmon here from Fremont High School. So thankful that Jason reached out to me about this project. He's putting together these sort of must-dos or most important pieces in choral music history. I spent a bunch of time kind of going through what I thought the great pieces in history were, and it sort of struck me when I came down to the one I'm recommending, that maybe I took too much time, because this is, for me, one of the great pieces of all time. Sicut Cervus, Renaissance period piece by Giovanni Pierluigi da Palestrina, written in 1604. So it stood the test of time, I think, 400 plus years now. It's been around and continuing to be performed. Is a setting of the beginning of Psalm 42. So the "As the deer desires the water" text from Psalm 42 is a really great example of polyphony and counterpoint. from the Renaissance period. Palestrina was recognized as one of the great writers and innovators in choral writing at the time, and was super famous. Rose up through the Catholic Church to become very powerful and very important, not only during his lifetime but recognized even after that. As I was doing some reading here, just doing a little Wikipedia searching on Palestrina and some of the things that he accomplished, I came across a section titled Reputation, and I found this quote from Felix Mendelssohn I thought was really interesting. Mendelssohn said, "I always get upset when some people praise only Beethoven, others only Mozart, or excuse me, only Palestrina, and still others only Mozart or Bach. All four of them, I say, or none at all." Which is interesting because I often say to my students that I think composers belong on the Mount Rushmore of choral music. And if there were a monument like that in choral music, for Mendelssohn to suggest that Palestrina should go there with the likes of Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach certainly speaks pretty loudly about who Mendelssohn thought Palestrina was. And during his lifetime and even after, 400 plus years later, I think we still see that. So Sicut is his most famous work, his most readily recognized work, and just a 2 or 3 minute piece. But boy, it is an incredible setting of the text and an unbelievable example of great use of polyphony and counterpoint and the Renaissance style of that writing. So I would recommend a good listen or 2 or 10 to a recording of Sicut Cervus. That's really quality. And taking some time to explore that, because I think it's one of the great pieces of all time, and certainly thankful for the opportunity to talk about it. So thanks again, Jason, for reaching out, and I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much.
think there's an audio. Oh, there we go. Sorry, we've had an audio problem. Got it. Thank you for that. Sorry for the, you missed that portion. Mark Harmon is a great friend of mine, and so happy that he was able to share in that with us. And that piece of music just touches my heart. As the deer desires the water, so I am looking for things in the world right now. And our next piece, I think, is going to continue to enlighten us and bring us into a place that we are needing some hope, I think. I hope you enjoy our next selection here.
One of the choral pieces that I think of as a must sing is The Majesty and Glory of Your Name. Words by Linda Lee Johnson and music by Tom Fetke. I still remember the first time I was introduced to this piece and just how moving I found it to be, primarily because, yes, the text that is based on Psalm chapter 8 was so enrichingly supported by the textual painting that was involved on the musical side of things, so much so that you would find throughout the piece an invitation for the listener to just go with the experience of gazing into the night sky and of observing the work of the Creator, but also reflecting on the profound love of the Creator. I love the way that this song calls on all the vocal parts to participate in this experience of textual painting. So, for example, the sopranos and altos soaring with the birds of the air at one point, and the tenors and baritones and basses diving deep with the fish of the sea, and just the entire experience of looking at the transcendent beauty that fills the earth and the heavens. And, then, of course, my favorite part here now, where the response of humanity comes into the piece, changing keys for this response, and also throughout the piece just really capturing the essence of intensity through moments of unison, through these rich parts of harmony. And then, of course, as I was talking about the response of humanity in that change of key, the Alleluia, that kind of grows from an MP dynamic moving all the way to double F, just as it kind of grows with the realization of the majesty and glory of his name, and then going even, I think, beyond double F to the other side of the depths of the soul, ending on a double P, Alleluia, with the altos giving us that final moment of resolution and the very end of quiet and reflective and deep pondering and response from the heart. Alleluia. I'd say the majesty and glory of your name is a must sing. Yeah, choirs, I hope all choirs have the joy of experiencing this music, the kind of joy that I've had in singing it and conducting it and being a part of the experience and listening to it.
I got to remember to unmute myself here. Sorry about that. So great to have Daniil, our assistant director and incredible musician in the Lincoln area, send us his thoughts on that piece. And what a cool piece. And I'm just moved that groups have been doing so much in this era of not being able to gather together. And I thought sharing an example of a virtual choir was something that was going to be something that I think speaks to us tonight just because of where we are and understanding that we're all finding ways to live in this new reality. And it's not always easy, and it's just a different sense of things. The music tonight is about singing, is about making art, is about being people in the world who create things. And I think all of our guests tonight who are sharing that music have a passion for that. And I think as we move forward, you'll see, I want to make sure I've got some things adjusted here. We are a little bit hot on that last one, so I'm going to turn down the video just a little bit. I hope you enjoy our next piece.
Hello, my name is Amanda Stevenson, and I am excited to share with you a choral work that I think is a must-sing or must-listen-to work. Today I'm going to talk to you about Scenes from the Life of a Martyr, written by Undine Smith Moore. Undine Smith Moore is known as the Dean of Black Women Composers, and she really fostered a generation of Black musicians and preserved the music in her community. She also offers us her own unique musical voice, and it's one that I hope you will find the time to listen to. She was born in 1904, had a long teaching career, but it wasn't until the 1950s that she began her massive compositional output, over 100 works, many of them were choral arrangements of spirituals that she heard her parents sing around the house during her childhood. But she also experimented with progressive styles and instrumental music to express pain and suffering of what was happening during the civil rights movement. You can definitely hear these different styles in Scenes from the Life of a Martyr. This is an oratorio written for chorus, orchestra, solo voices, and narrator. And she wrote this piece as a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and also to the ordinary men and women who struggle against tragedies of human existence. She began writing the work in 1975 with no commission and no promise of a performance. She completed the work in 1981 at the age of 77, and it was quickly performed by orchestras across the country, and it was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize that year. The work is divided into 4 sections. Each section covers a different stage of Dr. King's life. And if there were 2 parts of this oratorio that I would recommend everyone listen to or sing, it would be these 2. So the first one that I'd like to talk about is called I Never Felt Such Love in My Soul Before. This is a contemplative choral piece that's written in a spiritual style, and you can hear these short, long rhythmic motives that were really characteristic of Undine Smith Moore's works. So I Never Felt Such Love in My Soul Before is probably one of the most memorable moments in the entire oratorio. And the second one that I would recommend is the climactic choral piece. It's It's called They Tell Me Martin is Dead. And this piece begins with the voices in fugal imitation, and it ends with these frenzied screams and moans, and you can hear the intense emotions and feelings of what is happening when they tell me Martin is dead. So, Undine Smith Moore said that she chose to write this work as a way to make tangible her feelings about Dr. King. And she didn't want to strive for a consistency of style, but instead wanted the music to reflect his life. And I think that you can really hear that throughout this oratorio. It's an oratorio that many people don't know exists, or they may know that it exists, but they've never heard it. So I highly recommend listening to it. I love the Detroit Symphony Orchestra has a phenomenal recording of this work, and I hope you enjoy learning a little bit more about Undine Smith Moore's Scenes from the Life of a Martyr.
Know that love has chosen you to live his crucial purposes. Know that love has chosen you and will not pamper you nor spare. Demands obedience to all the rigorous laws of risk, does not pamper, will not spare. Oh, Master now love's instruments, complex and not for the fearful, simple and not for the foolish. Master now love's instruments. I, who love you, tell you this, even as the pitiful killer waits for me. I, who love you, tell you this.
Martin!
Well, it's just so cool to have such a variety of music. Amanda offered us such an incredible gift with that piece. I didn't know it. I went back and I actually watched the whole performance, performance, and man, it is moving. And I can't express how happy I am that she chose that piece. That stretches us a little bit and lets us know that the text of what we're doing is so important. The text of the music making that choirs make is really the thing that sets them apart from other kinds of music making. And the opportunity to do that together in groups, which we will be able to again, is key to that art. As we move forward, you're going to hear continuing different styles of music, and I'm going to try and make this the best experience as I can with the audio and all of that for you. You can look all of these up after the fact, too, if you want to go back and listen or go back to this recording and listen to them again as well. I thank you for being with us tonight, and here is our next piece.
Hello, friends, and Jason, thanks so much for the invitation to contribute something here by way of a must-do piece of music for choir. So what I'd like to present is the Bogorodice Diego from the All-Night Vigil by Rachmaninoff. All-Night Vigil, sometimes commonly referred to as Vespers, but that's not actually correct because the All-Night Vigil actually is a group of texts taken from the Vespers, the first 6 movements, the Matins, the next 8 movements, and then the final concluding piece in the All-Night Vigil is from Prime. The piece that we're talking about, Bogorodice Diego, often translated Rejoice, O Virgin, is the 6th movement, or the final text from the set of pieces from the Vespers. So the All-Night Vigil, Rachmaninoff sought to use various chants as the basis for his compositions. Many of them are what are known as the Zemeni chants. Some are the Kiev-style chants. A few are Greek Orthodox chants, but there are 5 that Rachmaninoff described as conscious counterfeits, and it's that which is what Rachmaninoff chose to do for the Rejoice, O Virgin. So it's not actually using an actual Orthodox chant, but one of his own making, you might say. So it might be good also to mention a little bit the Orthodox aesthetic tradition. I think could best be described as one that's born out of heavenly values rather than earthly values. And so the emphasis is on beauty and trying to reveal heaven, as it were, here on earth, and in this case through the composition and the performance of these hymns, these chants, and the settings that he wrote. So this particular piece, I think, is representative of all those things, in that even though it's very short, it's only a minute and a half, 2 minutes long, but yet within that span of time, it captures almost everything that we see of value in that aesthetic, the heavenly, born out of heavenly value, might say. We can hear it in the simple but yet moving harmonies, the well-shaped phrases, beautiful melody, and just that climax in the middle as the basses rise up to meet the rest of the choir is just an absolutely stunning moment. So why is this piece going to work for many choirs, or maybe even most choirs? whether, whatever skill level or size of the choir. Well, one is that it does have a rather accessible range. It doesn't have the typical need for the basses to be way down in the basement, although it can add some sonority there at certain times. Minimal DVC, and where there is DVC, it's very, very manageable as it moves in parallel harmony. The Russian text is, I would say, very easy to manage, and it is not long. And then, of course, the phrases are not long to manage for an average singer. It's just a beautiful piece, and I have such fond memories of it, in all the way back to singing in all-state choir in Kansas as a high school singer, to conducting it many times with choirs at school and community courses and so forth. So I hope that you would look at this very closely. It's well worth it.
So great to hear that piece. I sang it in college, and of course, the opportunity to hear from Greg, who used to be here in Omaha in Nebraska and is now down in Kansas, actually at his alma mater, teaching, and the understanding that that piece is approachable for so many settings, and an incredible example of the Russian choral style, I think, is the reason that it continues to come back around. Many American choirs doing it often, and I look forward to a time when I get to teach it again too. it just sets up such a beautiful opportunity to make incredible music. All right, here we go. Our next piece. So the piece I'm talking about now is from a set of pieces by the composer Morton Lordson. And this comes as a suggestion from a friend and colleague of Lincoln choral artist David Von Kampen, and he signs off on me presenting for him as one of the definite great sets of choral pieces to be considering. And I'm going to particularly focus on the piece Dirait-on, from the Les Chansons des Roses. So here's a little bit of information about some of the music of Morton Lordson and some information about the composer. Morton's 8 vocal cycles and 2 collections, Les Chansons des Roses with text by Rilke, Midwinter Songs with text by Graves, A Winter Come, text by Moss, the Madrigali, 6 fire songs on Italian Renaissance poems, the Nocturnes, the Quattro Canciones, the 4 madrigals on Renaissance texts, A Backyard Universe, 5 songs on American poems, and the Lux Eterna, plus the series of a cappella motets. Probably his most famous piece, the O Magnum Mysterium, is in this set, as well as his setting of O Nata Lux. And numerous instrumental works are featured regularly in concert by distinguished artists and ensembles throughout the world. The O Magnum Mysterium, the Dirait-on, and O Nata Lux, and Sure on This Shining Night have become all-time best-selling choral octavos. His musical approaches are very diverse, ranging from direct to abstract in response to various characteristic subject matter, language, style, structure, historical era, etc., and his use of text that he sets. His Latin sacred settings, such as the Lux Eterna and motets, often reference Gregorian chant, plus medieval and Renaissance procedures, while blending them within a freshly contemporary sound, while other works, such as the Madrigali and the Quattro Canciones, are highly chromatic or atonal. His music has an overall lyricism and is tightly constructed around melodic and harmonic motives. Referring to Lordson's sacred music, the musicologist and conductor Nick Strimple said he was the only American composer in history who can be called a mystic, whose probing, serene work contains an elusive and indefinable ingredient which leaves the impression that all the questions have been answered. From 1993, Lordson's music rapidly increased in international popularity, and by the century's end, he had eclipsed Randall Thompson as the most frequently performed American choral composer. Artist in resident with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Chorale under the direction of Paul Solomonovich. Probably some of the most famous recordings were with Paul and the LA Phil in the 90s, and you can hear some incredible performances of his music with them. He would often be at the piano with the choir, or just off stage from the orchestra as those pieces were being performed, as Paul was conducting the choir. And I think just kind of a model of the new American composers of the late 20th century in comparison to the early and mid 20th century of Randall Thompson, as we mentioned, and Aaron Copland and Leonard Bernstein. This is a man and music that is uniquely American, but with so many outside of American influence in it. There's a article in 2012 by Terry Teachout called "The Best Composer You've Never Heard of." And I'm just going to read a little bit of an excerpt from this. It's been a long time since an American classical composer became famous. Much less popular, Philip Glass was probably the last one whose name would become passably well known to the public at large. And even Mr. Glass isn't nearly as famous as, say, Aaron Copland. That says a lot about the marginal place of high culture in America. None of it good. So, who ought to be famous? Or, to put another way, who's writing classical music these days that's accessible enough to satisfy lay listeners, yet serious enough to impress trained musicians? Morton Lordson, that's who. Don't be surprised if Lordson's name is unfamiliar to you, although, as choir members, we probably know at least the O Magnum Mysterium. If you sing in a choir or go out of your way to listen to new choral music, there's a better than even chance that you'll have heard him, if not. Though Mr. Lordson's music is more widely performed than that of any other contemporary choral composer, he doesn't get talked about on TV or written about in magazines, and highbrow music critics typically ignore his premieres. Yet he has no shortage of ardent fans, one of whom, the poet Dana Gioia, describes him as one of the few living composers whom I would call great. Mr. Gioia, the past chairman of the National Endowment of the Arts, Mr. Gioia, the past chairman of the National Endowments of Arts, speaks these words of praise in a film documentary called Shining Night, a portrait of composer Morton Lordson, that will receive its premiere on February 7th. This is back in 2012 in Palm Springs, California, followed by screenings in Cincinnati, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and other locations. I did have a chance to watch a screening of this film at an ACDA convention a few years ago. It is fascinating. The film, directed by Michael Stillwater, is a heartening rarity, a thoroughly intelligent classical music program that strikes an appropriate balance between words and music. Most of the talking is done by Mr. Lordson himself, and all of it is to the point. But plenty of time is devoted to the music that is true. That is the true point of Shining Night. And by the film's end, you'll know what it sounds like and whether you want to hear more of it, as I expect you will. Says Mr. Lordson, there are too many things out there that are away from goodness. We need to focus on those things that ennoble us, that enrich us. The musical language in which he embodies this simple belief is conservative in the best and most creative sense of the word. His sacred music is unabashedly, even fearlessly tonal, and his chiming harmonies serve as underpinning for gently swaying melodic lines that leave no doubt of his love for medieval plain chant. Nothing about his music is experimental. It is direct, heartfelt, and as sweetly austere as the luminous sound of church bells at night. That one really moves me every time. I've had the opportunity to hear that entire work, 5 pieces performed. I've conducted a number of those movements myself. The Contra Qui Rose is my personal favorite in that set. It probably sounds the most like O Magnum Mysterium, but even has some more crunchier moments where the chords are really tight and the stacks of notes are just right on top of each other in that great kind of late 20th century American choral style that, of course, was adopted by other great composers like Eric Whitacre and even, our own Tom Trenny, who you're going to see does a little bit of that motive writing where you're stacking notes on top of each other so tightly. But the direttone doesn't do that. It just sits on the lyricism. How can you make your best line? How can you make the best phrase happen musically? And that's just such an enticing piece of music when you hear it. We're going to be moving on to our next piece.
Hi, I'm Kurt Knecht, and I'm so grateful that Jason asked me to make a little video about some of my favorite choral music. I still have fond memories of playing the Beethoven, whatever that piece is, that's kind of like the Ninth Symphony, the Choral Fantasy with Lincoln Choral Artists. So I decided to talk to you about the Te Deum by James Macmillan. And I'd like to start by talking about an interesting concept. So the theologian David Bentley Hart points out that in the Gospels, when it talks about Peter going out and weeping after betraying Jesus, it was a radical event in the aesthetic philosophy of the world, because in the ancient world, a minor character, a poor fisherman, the state of his emotions would never have been, it would have never been a concern in the classics. You don't find that in Homer, you don't find that in any Attic tragedies or anything like this. So all of a sudden, this new idea gets introduced into the world that the commonplace can be beautiful. We see this again later in the aesthetics of Zen Buddhism, but really first it gets put into the world kind of here. And James Macmillan is like that. He doesn't necessarily ask you to just find beauty in perfect things. And he doesn't want you to just find beauty in things that are normal and shaped like classical forms. And the amazing thing about James McMillan as one of our great modern composers is he is just uncompromising in everything that he asks you to listen to. He transitions easily between very beautiful music to just stunningly challenging music to listen to. There are parts in this piece where the choir is singing beautiful chords and the organist is smashing the keys with his whole hands, and vice versa. Other parts like that where the organist is just holding a C major chord for a long time. I think particularly of the beginning when the angels, as it were singing the holy, 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 and it's just wild because they're echoing around with these this little canon that's crazy. There are aleatoric passages, meaning that they were sort of barely written up, and it just says play it as fast as possible. So the choir is singing these intricate counterpoints, and the organist is just playing this stuff underneath that goes as fast as possible. But then he ties it all together and asks you to find beauty, not just where you might normally look for it, but in the whole diversity of our universe. So I encourage you to get to know the music of James McMillan, one of our greatest living composers. And my favorite piece by him is his Te Deum, which incidentally is going to be played next week on Pipe Dream. So this is on October 20th. So you might not see this till after it's over, but look up the episode of Pipe Dreams that airs on October 26th, and you can hear my performance of it with the Te Deum Choir singing James McMillan's Te Deum at the National American Guild of Organists Convention in 2018. Thanks.
Well, how fun was that to see our presenter himself in that? Huge thanks to Kurt for putting his video together for us and offering that great piece of music. I think it is wonderful to celebrate our living composers, and Kurt just does a fantastic job helping to support living composers through Music Spoke. And I am pleased to be a part of the Music Spoke family too, and put out some pieces with them. I can't tell you how cool this night is for me. We're already past the halfway point. I can't believe it. We are going to jump into some more music here quickly, but I did want to mention that this is part of our 41st season as the Lincoln Choral Artists. Our 40th season got cut short. We are hoping that the music that we were going to be presenting last spring we'll be able to present again soon. That is all up to the world, and we don't have a lot of control over that, so we are doing the things that we can do right now, and one of these is to present you music that's been recorded, music that's out there available for you. The way that we can access choral music these days is unheard of in history. And I urge you to take advantage of that. I also urge you to go to our website, lincolnchoralartist.org. If I had a cool machine, I would make it pop up on the screen, but I'm already doing 8 things with 2 arms, and so I didn't do that part of it. But lincolnchoralartist.org, and we do have a donate button. This is our season right now, and if you are not a part of the choir, or you even are a part of the choir and you're interested in helping us out financially with the season, we would thank you so much for that. And here comes some more music.
Okay, the choral piece that I think is a must-listen, must-sing for choirs is the Frank Martin Mass for Double Choir. And especially, I like the Sanctus movement. I think this piece is incredibly unique because Frank Martin, a Swiss composer, was not really well known in his time and didn't even really start publishing music until he was in his 50s, although he was composing music, including the Mass, from a much younger age. So this is really the only choral piece that I know by Frank Martin, and I think it's exquisite. So it's for double choir, 2 choirs of SATB voicing. Sometimes even those choirs are split into more parts, so at some times there are 12 or 16 voice parts, and he draws a lot of the motives from Gregorian chant. I think the Sanctus is really beautiful. It starts with these kind of cluster chords in the men's voices, and then the sopranos are doing these, they go into these kind of pentatonic melodies eventually, and then toward the end you get this like really jubilant hosanna with lots of melismas and big, beautiful, lush chords. So anyway, I like the Martin Mass, the Sanctus in particular. I'm also a big fan of the Kyrie and the Agnus Dei.
Well, Sarah, thank you for that incredible piece. I always love to hear different settings of the Sanctus. Sanctuses, Sancti, Kurt will probably correct me. No, I have sung several different settings and have heard that one performed. Would love to have an opportunity to have some exposure to that in a more direct way, either singing it or conducting it. I just think it's a gorgeous piece. And I am so happy that it was offered here tonight as maybe something new for some people. You could see the music on the screen, though, and kind of see what was going on. Double choir, a cappella, that is one of the great things that we get to do as singers. Be a part of a group that just divides itself down into so many parts, but has to work as one to make music happen. The precision with that kind of a piece that is required to make it sound beautiful is astounding. And hopefully we've all had those moments where we've had astounding music happen. Either we're making it or we're experiencing it. Maybe even tonight for some of you are experiencing it tonight. And let's continue with some more music as we are motivated to make the music in the world ourselves.
Maya Angelou once said, "At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They'll remember how you made them feel." I think music can be a lot like that too. We remember the music that makes us feel, the music that seems somehow to change the very spirit of the space that we're inhabiting. A piece that I've felt so deeply in so many different ways as an organist, as a singer, and as a conductor is the Kyrie from the Requiem by Maurice Duruflé. Though this composer wrote very few pieces for choir and orchestra, though he wrote very few pieces overall, he was a perfectionist. He strove to improve and refine and to be so particular about the nuances of all his music that it's all so brilliant, and yet we wish there was so much more. But we have the oasis of the Requiem for soprano, alto, tenor, bass, chorus, organ, and sometimes orchestra as well. And you hear in this piece the influence of the Gregorian chant melody, which those rich songs from the church's history were so important and essential to Duruflé and his profound Catholic faith. And he takes these Gregorian themes and transforms them, creates a mystical, a spiritual expression, an almost apotheotic journey in a way in this particular movement. Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy. Then the sopranos altos sing this impassioned Christe eleison, Christ have mercy, with these close harmonies and dissonances that resolve in such powerful ways. And then the organ builds and builds, and the choir opens up and sings into this last prayer again, Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy. And this profound, rich, full texture melts down into the most beautiful, peaceful, graceful, and prayerful ending. This is such a piece with such an intense meaning and such a spiritual power. I hope as you listen to it in this moment, it may be a piece that's written upon your heart too, that makes you truly feel.
the exquisite French harmonies of the early 20th century. Tom offering that for us tonight in so many ways, starting out with his quote from Maya Angelou and reminding us that this gift that we have been given in being able to have this music available for us again, to hear and to sing and to play. I remember my first experience singing that piece. It was for a graduate student recital, and boy, sight reading that tenor line and that Kyrie is not my most favorite memory, but I fell in love with the piece over the rehearsal time. That's something that I think happens to us, that we start with something that's maybe more difficult or out of our normal realm of comfortableness, and we grow through the process of learning, either because we have to learn it or because we decide that it's important for us to. That can mean lots of things and go to many parts of your life, but in particular with music, I think there are so many different kinds of payoffs for that. And I think the more that our love for what we're doing comes out in our performance, our passion for it, the way that all of our presenters tonight, including Tom, have been showing us their passion for what they have, that comes out in the music. That becomes the thing that you can't read on the page, that happens between the harmonies and the notes and the rests. All that stuff that happens, that's printed for you, the next thing that we add in is ourselves to those words and our passion for that. We're coming down to it now. I hope you enjoyed the next piece.
Hello, Lincoln Choral artists and my friend Jason Horner. I'm Dr. Kurt Runestad. I teach choir here at Doane University. I actually teach with Jason, as some of you know. It's a privilege to have him with us. He asked me to say a few words about a choral piece, and I talked to him about it, and I am going to speak briefly about a piece called Somlandela, which is by the Soweto Gospel Choir. It's from their album African Spirit, a 2007 album. Soweto Gospel Choir is perhaps the most famous choir on the African continent. They've won 3 Grammys in the area of world music, and they've toured all over the world, so they're well known. There are actually 2 Soweto Gospel choirs. There are enough members of the group who are kind of in and out of the group so that they can actually have 2 groups. I've done a number of transcriptions of their music. They are from a completely oral sung and oral listening tradition. They don't have a person in the choir who is literate by Western standards. In other words, can write down symbols on a page and translate those symbols into sound. So that brings a unique challenge in getting their music out to the world, because they don't have any printed music to share. So I've collaborated with them, with the Soweto Gospel Choir leadership and the music publisher Music Spoke, to transcribe some of their music and then make it available for people to perform. Somlandela is not a difficult piece, and it's one that I have actually experimented with that oral and oral tradition myself. I know the piece very well because I transcribed it, but when I performed it with our groups here at Doane last year, I didn't hand out any music. I just asked the students to listen to it and to kind of sing along, and then eventually we just kind of came to a corporate interpretation of that piece. It was really good for me and really good for my students. I will admit it was scary for me. That's way out of my comfort zone. I'm a classically trained musician, so for me, having a piece of paper in my hand with music on it is an important piece. But Somlandela helped me get into their authentic place of learning and committing to music without maybe being distracted by the printed score. I think sometimes in our Western traditions, the printed score almost becomes a sacred document that we consider the music itself. Soweto Gospel Choir is here to remind us that the music is the stuff we create out of our body, and the printed score is actually irrelevant to that in their case. So those are just a few words about Somlandala, and I wish you all the best on your community ensemble music making in these most extraordinary times. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you, and have a great day.
Well, I am so saddened to say we've actually come to the end for tonight. I can't believe it. 9 great, incredible pieces already. I think this last one is going to be one that everybody knows. And I'm going to encourage you to stand and sing along if you're able to do so. It is part of the tradition, and I'm just so happy that we had this moment in time together. Even though we weren't in person. I've been loving our conversation online that we've been having in the event tonight. Keep the questions coming, keep the comments coming. Let me know how you felt about this evening as we move forward. We are going to be offering some more things. Again, LincolnChoralArtists.org. Check us out there. You can donate there. You can learn more about singing with us. We actually did bring in a new singer this year, even though she hasn't been able to rehearse with the rest of our group. I hope she's felt some some love from us and some passion from us about what we're trying to do, and look forward to a time when we can be together to sing in person. I just want to leave you with the thought that music isn't just for us, for you personally, sitting at home watching this. Maybe you're watching this with a loved one. Maybe you're watching this with other singers, possibly. Maybe you're just enjoying the night as another part of your week, and this is one more thing that you're doing. I don't think that this music speaks to being by yourself. This music speaks to a wider understanding of the world, a wider grasp of what's going on in our culture and in our place, and what our stand in that should be. And I think as the Lincoln Choral artists, we stand for community, and we stand for bringing together our passion for making music, but also our passion for the people in our neighborhoods and in our lives, our families and our friends, that we want to share the beauty of music making. We want to share the beauty of art as we think about everything else that's going on that's so difficult in the world. This is something that we have to offer. And so I'm going to leave you with, again, the invite to stand and sing as we get to our end portion here. And I thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to be talking about probably one of the most famous choral pieces, even to people who don't sing in a choir, have never sung in a choir, but probably have heard this either at the holiday season during Christmas, or seen it and heard it in a commercial or in movies. I'm, of course, talking about George Friedrich Handel's Messiah, but particularly the Hallelujah chorus from Messiah. So if you haven't sung this, this is a magnificent piece of music in so many ways. The whole oratorio is incredible, but this one particular movement, which is probably the most famous portion of the entire oratorio, is for orchestra, SATB chorus, and has probably been part of the, zeitgeist of choral music for the 250 plus years that it has been around. And one of the things I find most interesting about it, for me personally, is that I have conducted it and sung it so many times that it's just kind of become a part of me as a person. I know the vocal entrances. I know, and with the anticipation leading up for the tenor high note, the great cadence moments is where the choir comes together for these big chords, the kind of practical performance practice things that have happened over the years, the way that we move the tempo back and forth as a part of a long tradition of performing this piece outside of the context of the oratorio. I wanted to read a little bit from a book called A Practical Guide for Performing, Teaching, and Singing Messiah by Leonard von Camp. And he has a great thing here. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I thought it was a great quote. This is perhaps the best known of all choral pieces, but the countless performances of it in every possible situation have perhaps prevented us from understanding it in the proper context as the conclusion for Part 2 of Messiah. It should not, by the way, be moved to the end of the oratorio as some misguided conductors have done. Obviously, his opinion, you can do whatever you want with this piece and perform it however you want to, but from the standpoint of a historical performance, it doesn't come at the end. It is not a general praise anthem, but is intended to dissolve the antagonism between God and man that has been expressed especially in the brief recitative, "He that dwelleth in heaven shall laugh them to scorn," and the aria, "Thou shalt break them." In these two movements, God's wrath against the rebellion of human beings is dramatically portrayed. The Hallelujah chorus then shows that God has overcome the rebellion and solve the conflict, which then causes the chorus to give praise for his overwhelming power. He is in fact called the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, whom we are reminded forcibly and repeatedly shall reign forever and ever and ever. And of course, if you've sung this piece, you know that that text is repeated, particularly that forever. The words hallelujah and forever are repeated unending in many ways in the idea of the great chorus of angels singing these words, in the overcoming of death. And though that it is a piece written by a Christian composer and for many purposes, and many reasons, it is a Christian piece. I think it speaks to a larger world of experience as well. We can understand the Hallelujah more than just because of the text that is there, but because of the expanse of the music and the grandness of the sound. I also think that the use of this piece for the holiday season and is something that is pretty funny. It does come in the Easter portion of the oratorio, and I have had many traditions in churches that I've worked at where it is something that is performed on Easter Sunday, and I think that that is a great moment for it. But it can be performed in concerts, as it was originally intended as a concert piece, not a church piece. The entire oratorio. I actually got to see the area in Dublin, near Christ Church Cathedral, where the Messiah was first performed at an orphanage, and saw the outer wall of where this orphanage had been. Was in St. Patrick's Cathedral, where the original score is still kept. You can see it on display there, and really it was something that was very moving to me. The score was open to Hallelujah Chorus for tourists to take pictures of, and of course I took pictures and have posted those online and have shown all that to people as my wife Hillary and I were on our honeymoon back in January of this year, before all the world changed. And now all the world changes again, and we continue to move forward. But I think Hallelujah Chorus is really something that can stand the test of time.